Emily walked down the empty hallway of the company, holding a folder full of reports that no one wanted to look at. Every step seemed to echo how everything could collapse at any moment. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every invisible gaze on her. No one believed that this humble woman could make a difference. But what if she could? Emily was 28 years old, fair-skinned, with brown hair tied in a slightly messy bun, the kind you do when you ree in a hurry. She wore a simple shirt, modest dress pants and worn-out sneakers, standing in stark contrast to the heels and expensive suits of the executives. She had a calm, almost shy demeanor, but her eyes betrayed a determination that no one noticed at first glance. Whenever she was deep in thought, she'd chew the end of a pen or snap her fingers as if trying to outthink time itself. She arrived at the office early before anyone else and left late, long after the building was empty. Her little corner was covered in sticky notes, spreadsheets and scribbled notebooks, a messy system only she understood. Despite her simple appearance, Emily carried an intense energy in her chest, a mix of fear and courage that made every day feel like a race against the clock. No one in the upper management paid attention to her. Every suggestion was ignored or met with mocking chuckles. But Emily didn't let it get to her. Every dismissive look only strengthened her desire to prove she was worth more than they thought. A quiet fire burned inside her. The family company was at risk, and she had to do something before it was too late. She spent her days listening to meeting conversations, soaking up information like a sponge, careful not to let anyone notice. Every number, every contract, every mistake that others ignored was a piece of the puzzle she vowed to solve before anyone realized. Sometimes she'd sigh quietly, imagining the disaster that might come, but always ended with a firm thought. I can do this. Emily had a habit of pacing back and forth while thinking, often losing track of time. The empty corridors of the company became her secret strategy zone, where she planned every move like a chess game against fate itself. With each passing day, the tension grew, because she knew that at any moment someone could discover she was meddling where she shouldn't. Even feeling the weight of responsibility, Emily never let hope die. She remembered the stories of helping her father with the family business as a child, how he used to say courage was doing what no one else would. Those memories were her fuel. But something bothered her. The closer she got to finding a solution, the harder it seemed to convince others it would work. And that day, with the folder in her hands and her heart racing, Emily realized she was about to take the first step that could change everything. What no one knew, and what even she couldn't fully imagine yet, was that every decision from here on would test her courage in ways that would change her life, and the company's forever. The company's headquarters felt heavy that morning, almost suffocating. Reports of massive losses and failed investments were stacked on every desk. Employees whispered in corners, worried about rumors of bankruptcy that seemed closer with each passing day. Emily felt a tight knot in her stomach. She knew the family's legacy was hanging by a thread. The numbers on the spreadsheets were brutal. Expenses skyrocketed, revenues plummeted, and previous strategies had failed spectacularly. Executives were panicking, making hasty decisions that often worsened the situation. Emily watched from her quiet corner, absorbing every detail, feeling the weight of responsibility grow heavier. Clients had started leaving, fed up with delays and mistakes. Suppliers were hesitant to deliver, fearing late payments. The walls of the office seemed to close in, echoing with the uncertainty that no one dared to voice aloud. Emily's mind raced, thinking of ways to stop the downward spiral before it became irreversible. Every meeting she attended revealed more cracks in the company's structure. Directors argued, pointing fingers, while no one looked for real solutions. The atmosphere was tense, filled with frustration and fear. Emily, silent but attentive, mentally mapped out where the failures were and which pieces of the puzzle could be salvaged. The press had started sniffing around, and rumors of bankruptcy were leaking outside. Emily felt a chill. Not only was the company at risk, but its reputation and her family's legacy was on the line. Every decision mattered more than ever, and time was running out. Even with the chaos surrounding her, Emily stayed focused. She analyzed every report, identified weak points in contracts, and noted areas where clients had been neglected. Each small insight was a potential lifeline, a way to stop the company from collapsing if acted upon at the right moment. Her colleagues were oblivious to her internal calculations, dismissing her presence as insignificant. But Emily's mind was racing with strategies, imagining the steps that could turn the tide. Every late night, every silent observation brought her closer to a solution that no one else could see yet. As the day ended, Emily sat in her corner, staring at the stacks of reports and contracts. The crisis was bigger than she had imagined, but she felt a spark of determination. The company was on the edge of collapse, yet she knew if she dared to act in secret, if she trusted her own intelligence and courage, there was a chance to save it all. The executives at the company were the kind who measured people by their titles and appearances, not by their talent. They laughed at Emily's suggestions, barely giving her a glance during meetings. Her humble appearance and quiet demeanor made them underestimate her completely. To them, she was invisible, a background character in the company drama. Every idea she cautiously presented was met with snickers or dismissive comments. "Where do you get these ideas, Emily?" one director would ask with a smirk, as if her humble presence made her ideas automatically less valuable. Emily forced a calm expression, but inside, her determination grew stronger with every ridicule. Despite the arrogance surrounding her, Emily watched carefully. She noted which executives were making poor decisions, which contracts were being ignored, and which opportunities were slipping through their fingers. Every eye roll, every laugh, every doubt they threw at her was fuel for a plan only she could see clearly. The boardroom became a battlefield of egos. Executives argued over numbers, blame, and strategies, blind to the obvious problems that Emily quietly observed. She learned to listen more than speak, recording mental notes of everything. Because even in dismissal, there was knowledge to gain. She felt a mix of frustration and resolve. It wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about saving the company they were carelessly driving toward ruin. Every sarcastic comment reminded her that she needed to act wisely, quickly, and in secret, because the very people who could help might also destroy her efforts if they knew too soon. Emily's quiet determination contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. While executives displayed arrogance and impatience, she analyzed, connected dots, and imagined solutions. Every document they ignored was a potential lifesaver, and every oversight a step toward the plan she was beginning to craft in silence. Sometimes she smiled inwardly at their ignorance. They had no idea that their underestimation was their biggest mistake. If she played her cards right, the very people who mocked her would eventually see that she had been the only one thinking clearly all along. By the end of the day, Emily walked out of the boardroom with a folder under her arm and a fire in her chest. The executives laughed and whispered, unaware that every slight, every dismissal was only sharpening her focus. The more they doubted her, the more determined she became to save the company and prove that courage and intelligence weren't measured by status or wealth. Emily's drive went far beyond money or recognition. The company wasn't just a business, it was her family's legacy. She remembered her parents, their sacrifices, their dreams, and the countless nights they spent trying to keep everything afloat. Every file she reviewed, every contract she studied, reminded her of them and made giving up impossible. When she walked through the empty office at night, she could almost hear her father's voice saying, "Courage is doing what no one else wants to do." Those words were etched into her mind, guiding every decision she made. Emily knew that saving the company was about honoring their memory and preserving the hard work they had poured into it. The emotional connection she felt fueled her determination. Even when exhausted, even when executives doubted her abilities, Emily pushed forward. She wanted to see the company succeed, not for herself, but for the people who had built it and for the employees who relied on it. Her motivation was deeply personal, a force that no skepticism could weaken. Every obstacle reminded her why she couldn't fail. She pictured the disappointment in her parents' eyes if she gave up, and it strengthened her resolve. Emily believed that courage wasn't about fearless action, but about taking the right steps, even when fear threatened to paralyze her. Late nights and early mornings became her routine. She studied reports, anticipated problems, and developed solutions no one else could see. Each small progress felt like honoring her parents' vision, a silent promise that their legacy would not be lost to poor management or arrogance. Her motivation wasn't just nostalgia. It was a compass. Every action was guided by the desire to protect the company's heart, to make decisions that mattered, and to ensure that even the most overlooked aspects of the business were addressed. Emily's determination became a quiet but powerful engine driving every move. She sometimes imagined the company thriving again, employees smiling, clients satisfied, and the legacy of her family intact. These visions kept her going, even during moments when the scale of the crisis seemed overwhelming. Motivation and love for the company were stronger than exhaustion or doubt. By the end of each day, Emily reminded herself why she was risking everything in silence. Her personal connection to the company gave her courage that no one else understood, and deep down, she knew that her determination wasn't just about saving the company. It was about proving that someone humble, overlooked, and underestimated could change everything. Emily was going through old contracts and reports late one evening when something caught her eye. A tiny discrepancy in a supplier agreement, barely noticeable, had been overlooked by everyone else. Most people wouldn't even have noticed it. But Emily's attention to detail revealed a vulnerability that could cost the company millions if left unchecked. She felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just a minor mistake, it was a flaw that threatened entire projects and client relationships. While executives were busy bickering over visible issues, the real danger was hiding in plain sight, and only she seemed to have noticed it. Her heart raced as she realized the stakes. Emily quickly mapped out the potential consequences. A single missed deadline, a misunderstood term, or a client complaint could escalate into massive losses. She knew she had to act, but carefully, because revealing the flaw too soon might provoke panic or dismissal from the executives. Timing was critical. The discovery lit a fire within her. It wasn't just about preventing disaster. It was about taking control and proving that careful observation and intelligence could make the difference. Emily felt a surge of purpose, a mix of fear and determination that sharpened her focus like never before. She started drafting solutions in secret, considering every angle. Could they renegotiate contracts without alarming clients? Could internal processes be adjusted to fix the vulnerability without drawing attention? Emily analyzed every scenario, imagining each possible outcome and the risks involved. Her hands shook slightly as she realized how close the company was to a catastrophic failure. Yet that fear was fuel. Each flaw she uncovered was a step toward a plan that could save everything if executed correctly. Emily understood that her actions now could determine the company's fate. The quiet office became her strategy lab. Emily scribbled notes, created diagrams, and listed every possible risk and solution. She moved like a detective solving a complex case, knowing that one wrong move could undo months of careful observation. By the time she closed her notebooks for the night, Emily felt a grim resolve. She had uncovered a hidden threat no one else could see, and now it was up to her to act. The next steps would require courage, stealth, and unwavering focus, because the survival of the company depended on it. Late at night, when the office was empty and silent, Emily set to work. The hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint ticking of the clock were the only sounds as she pored over spreadsheets, emails, and reports. Every keystroke, every phone call, every note she wrote felt like a small rebellion against the crisis threatening the company. She moved carefully, aware that her work had to remain invisible. Executives would have dismissed her efforts or taken credit if they knew. Emily thrived in this secrecy, knowing that the success of her actions depended on stealth, precision, and timing. Every step was calculated, every decision deliberate. Emily renegotiated contracts with suppliers quietly, often calling in the evenings or sending carefully worded emails. She adjusted client accounts and corrected overlooked errors, making tiny fixes that added up to significant improvements. Each small victory strengthened her belief that the company could be saved. Lucas, a loyal colleague, noticed her efforts and decided to help. He brought insight, support, and sometimes a second pair of eyes for double-checking calculations. Together, they became a silent duo, navigating the complex maze of contracts, deadlines, and bureaucratic traps. Their combined effort gave Emily the confidence to push further. Despite the secrecy, the work was exhausting. Late nights blurred into early mornings, and Emily often skipped meals, focusing entirely on solving the critical problems. But every obstacle she overcame reminded her why she couldn't stop, because the company's future was in her hands, and failure wasn't an option. She kept track of every change meticulously, knowing that if anyone questioned the improvements, she had the evidence to back it up. Every detail mattered: a renegotiated clause, a corrected invoice, a satisfied client. These small actions were the building blocks of the larger plan she was carefully constructing in the shadows. Even though the executives mocked her or ignored her suggestions during the day, Emily felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing that she was making a difference where it counted. The secrecy gave her freedom to act without interference, and the results, however hidden, were undeniable. By the end of each night, Emily would close her laptop and take a deep breath, exhausted but determined. She knew the company was slowly shifting towards stability, and that every silent, hidden action she took was a step closer to proving that courage, intelligence, and perseverance could overcome neglect and arrogance. One evening, while Emily was buried in reports, a young intern named Jake approached her cautiously. He had been observing her dedication for weeks and noticed the quiet precision with which she corrected mistakes others ignored. "I think I can help," he said, his voice nervous but sincere. Emily looked up, surprised, but nodded. Every bit of help counted. Lucas, the veteran employee, had also decided to step in. He had seen Emily's potential early on and respected her determination. "You're not alone in this," he told her, offering guidance and sharing insights from years of experience. With allies by her side, Emily felt a surge of confidence she hadn't felt before. Together, the trio formed a silent task force. They divided responsibilities. Emily focused on strategy and critical decisions, Lucas on logistics and oversight, and Jake on research and documentation. Every night, the office became their secret headquarters, buzzing quietly with determination and teamwork. Their collaboration was seamless. Emily trusted their instincts and skills, and they trusted hers. Each correction, each renegotiated contract, and each small improvement became a shared victory. The sense of camaraderie turned late nights into productive, almost exhilarating sessions. Even with the added help, challenges persisted. Executives continued to overlook crucial details and make hasty decisions that complicated their work. But with allies, Emily felt less isolated. They brainstormed solutions, covered blind spots, and ensured no opportunity for improvement was missed. The unexpected support also brought a sense of moral encouragement. Every small success, like a client issue resolved or a supplier convinced to extend a deadline, felt like a victory, not just for the company, but for the team fighting in the shadows. The quiet solidarity strengthened Emily's resolve. Each night, the trio celebrated small wins in subtle ways: a relieved sigh, a shared smile, or a whispered, "We got this." Their teamwork was invisible to the higher-ups, but it was powerful, precise, and increasingly effective. Emily realized that even the smallest allies could become critical when strategy and courage were combined. By the end of these long nights, Emily felt a growing sense of hope. The company's future, once so fragile, now seemed salvageable. With loyal allies by her side, she knew the plan could succeed. Each step forward was a testament to determination, intelligence, and the unexpected power of teamwork in the face of disbelief. Emily knew that working in secret didn't make her immune to risks. Every corrected contract, every phone call with clients carried the potential for exposure. One wrong move, and executives could accuse her of overstepping boundaries, or worse, sabotage her efforts entirely. The tension was constant, a shadow following her through every hallway and meeting. Some executives had already started noticing changes without understanding why. Rumors of unauthorized actions began circulating, and Emily felt eyes watching her every move. She had to be careful, double-checking every action and covering every step, because any hint of impropriety could ruin everything. External threats also loomed. A major client was considering pulling out, and some suppliers were threatening to demand immediate payments. Emily had to navigate these dangers with precision, negotiating quietly, finding loopholes, and convincing partners to trust her without alarming anyone. It was a tightrope walk with high stakes. Internal sabotage added another layer of danger. Certain employees, jealous or skeptical of her work, tried to undermine her initiatives by withholding information or subtly blocking communications. Emily learned to anticipate these moves, keeping sensitive documents secure and relying on her allies to double-check critical details. Legal risks were ever present. Changing contracts, renegotiating terms, and managing client expectations in secrecy could have serious consequences. Emily meticulously documented every action, keeping a record of communications and decisions to protect herself and the company. Her diligence became a shield against potential accusations. Fatigue also became an enemy. Long nights and constant pressure wore down both her body and mind. Mistakes were dangerous, so Emily forced herself to maintain focus, drinking endless cups of coffee, pacing the office, and pushing herself to stay one step ahead of every problem. Despite the dangers, Emily refused to stop. Every obstacle, every threat, became a challenge to overcome, sharpening her skills and determination. She had committed herself to saving the company, and nothing, not fear, sabotage, or fatigue, would make her turn back. By the end of each high-stakes day, Emily felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She knew the company's survival depended on her courage and vigilance. The dangers were real, but they only strengthened her resolve to see the plan through to the end. Slowly, Emily began to see the first signs of progress. Small victories that once seemed impossible started to take shape. Debts were being renegotiated, clients returned with cautious optimism, and minor improvements in operations hinted at a turnaround. Every tiny success fueled her determination and gave her hope that the plan was working. Lucas and Jake shared the quiet excitement, exchanging subtle smiles when a contract was successfully corrected or a payment issue resolved. Each milestone, though unnoticed by the executives, was a confirmation that their hidden efforts were making a tangible difference. Emily felt a surge of quiet pride. She was saving the company one careful step at a time. The staff began to notice small changes as well. Reports were more accurate, emails more responsive, and minor crises handled with unprecedented efficiency. No one knew it was Emily behind the improvements, but the results spoke for themselves. Her work in the shadows was beginning to ripple outward. Emily meticulously tracked every outcome, knowing that documentation would later prove her role in the recovery. Every email, every phone call, and every contract amendment was recorded as evidence of the positive change she orchestrated in secrecy. Each success, no matter how small, was a critical piece of the puzzle. The first signs of success also boosted her confidence. The risk and sleepless nights felt justified as the company slowly regained stability. Emily allowed herself brief moments of satisfaction, but she never let her guard down. Every improvement could be fragile, and she had to stay vigilant to protect the progress. She noticed subtle shifts in some executives' behavior too. A few started to ask questions and pay closer attention to numbers, unaware that Emily had quietly orchestrated the improvements. Though they still doubted her abilities, the foundation of change was already in place, and it was undeniable. The client's renewed trust was especially gratifying. Emails expressing satisfaction, calls confirming contracts, and gestures of appreciation reminded Emily why she persisted. The company's future, once so uncertain, now seemed salvageable, and the possibility of a full recovery felt within reach. By the end of the day, Emily paused for a moment to reflect. The hidden victories, small yet powerful, confirmed that her strategy was working. The company's revival wasn't guaranteed yet, but the first signs of success proved that courage, intelligence, and determination could indeed start to turn the tide. It didn't take long for the upper management to notice that something was changing. Reports were improving, clients were returning, and contracts were being handled more efficiently, but no one could figure out who was behind it. Suspicion grew, and soon Emily found herself under scrutiny. One morning, a director called her into his office. His expression was a mix of anger and confusion. "Emily, what's going on here? Who authorized these changes?" he demanded. Emily stayed calm, her heart racing, and replied carefully, explaining that she was just doing her job and trying to help. The executives were incredulous. They accused her of overstepping boundaries and acting without permission. Some suggested disciplinary action, others whispered about removing her from certain tasks. Emily could feel the tension rising in the room, but she refused to let fear dictate her response. Despite the confrontation, Emily calmly presented the improvements she had made, explaining the rationale behind every action. She spoke with clarity, precision, and confidence, showing that her decisions were carefully calculated and essential for the company's survival. Every word challenged their doubts and arrogance. The conflict escalated as directors questioned her authority. They tried to belittle her, reminding her of her humble position and lack of title. Emily listened, silently noting their mistakes, misjudgments, and the flaws in their reasoning. Her resolve only strengthened. She knew the company's future depended on her continuing, even under pressure. Lucas and Jake stood by her side, providing support and validating her actions. Their presence was a silent reassurance that she was not alone, and that the improvements were real, effective, and critical. The executive's disbelief was no match for the proof of results. Even as the directors attempted to intimidate her, Emily remained poised. She reminded them that inaction would lead to the company's collapse, and that her decisions were driven by careful analysis and commitment to the family's legacy. Her calm defiance made it clear she would not be stopped by arrogance or ignorance. By the end of the day, Emily returned to her corner with renewed determination. The confrontation had been intense, but it also reaffirmed her purpose. She understood that true change often provokes resistance, and that the battle to save the company required courage, strategy, and unwavering focus, qualities she now embodied fully. The day of the critical meeting arrived. Emily could feel her heart pounding as she stepped into the boardroom, aware that every decision, every word, could determine the fate of the company. Executives sat around the table, some skeptical, some anxious, none aware of the full scope of her secret work. Reports were spread across the table, contracts laid out, and client updates highlighted in bold. The atmosphere was tense, heavy with anticipation. Every eye on her seemed to weigh her credibility, ready to dismiss or approve her findings. Emily knew that one misstep could undo months of careful preparation. A crucial contract was on the line, one that could either stabilize the company or trigger a catastrophic financial loss. The client's representative was present, watching closely, while executives debated terms they barely understood. Emily took a deep breath, prepared to present her solution with confidence. She spoke clearly, explaining every adjustment, every renegotiation, and the potential outcomes. Each point was backed by evidence she had meticulously gathered in secrecy. Her voice was calm, but the tension in the room was palpable, as if everyone knew the company's survival depended on her. Suddenly, a director interrupted, questioning her authority and the validity of her data. Emily didn't flinch. She countered with facts, projections, and step-by-step explanations, leaving no room for doubt. The room was silent, except for the rustle of papers and the occasional scribble of notes. Minutes felt like hours. Each decision she presented had immediate consequences, and the executives' expressions shifted from doubt to cautious attention. Emily's pulse raced, but she maintained focus, guiding them through the maze of potential pitfalls and opportunities she had uncovered. The client leaned forward, nodding at her proposals, signaling tentative approval. Emily felt a surge of cautious optimism. Her strategy was working, but she couldn't relax yet. Every clause, every condition still needed careful handling, and the executives' reactions could make or break the outcome. By the end of the meeting, the crisis point had passed. Emily's plan had been accepted, the critical contract secured, and the company narrowly avoided disaster. The tension slowly eased, leaving a mix of relief and awe in the room. Emily had steered the company through its most dangerous moment, proving that courage and intelligence could triumph even under immense pressure. Emily finally stood before the executives, ready to reveal the full scope of her secret work. She laid out all the evidence, renegotiated contracts, improved client relationships, corrected mistakes, and the small changes that had collectively stabilized the company. The room fell silent as the reality of her efforts sank in. She explained, step by step, how each action she took had prevented further losses and restored trust with clients and suppliers. Her voice was steady, her data precise, and her confidence undeniable. Every executive listened, some wide-eyed, some frowning in disbelief, unable to ignore the undeniable results. Lucas and Jake supported her, presenting additional proof and clarifying details. The hidden efforts of the small team now shone brightly in the light of the boardroom, leaving no room for doubt. The executives' skepticism began to crumble as they grasped the extent of her intelligence and determination. Some directors tried to downplay her achievements, claiming luck or coincidence. Emily calmly countered, showing timelines, calculations, and evidence that every improvement was deliberate and carefully orchestrated. The narrative she had crafted in secret now became irrefutable. The truth was undeniable. Emily had saved the company. Every overlooked detail, every risk taken, every quiet night spent working had contributed to a tangible turnaround. The executives' doubt, arrogance, and dismissive attitudes had been exposed as their greatest mistakes. Employees, initially unaware of her actions, began to realize the depth of her contributions. Whispers of admiration circulated, acknowledging the courage and intelligence that had gone unnoticed for so long. Emily's work had changed not just the company's fortunes, but also the perception of what one determined individual could accomplish. Her presentation ended with a calm smile, but the impact was immense. The executives, once dismissive, now faced the undeniable truth. A humble, overlooked woman had done what they could not, saving the company from the brink of collapse. Emily felt a mixture of relief, pride, and quiet satisfaction. The secret was out, the truth revealed, and the company's future secured. She had proven that courage, intelligence, and perseverance could overcome doubt, prejudice, and underestimation, forever changing the way those around her would view her, and anyone willing to fight for what matters. The executives were stunned. Their skepticism, arrogance, and dismissal of Emily's abilities had been completely overturned by undeniable results. Eyes widened, jaws dropped, and a tense silence filled the boardroom. For the first time, they truly saw the talent and determination of the woman they had underestimated. Some executives tried to mask their embarrassment with weak smiles or awkward nods, but the shame was palpable. They had ignored her because of her humble appearance and quiet demeanor, and now the truth was undeniable. She had saved the company single-handedly. Emily remained composed, observing the shift in their attitudes. She didn't need their applause. Her focus was on the impact of her work. Yet there was a quiet satisfaction in seeing them recognize, even if belatedly, that courage and intelligence cannot be measured by status or wealth. Employees who had witnessed parts of her efforts in secret began to share whispers of admiration. The story of Emily's determination spread quickly through the office, inspiring colleagues who had long felt overlooked or undervalued. Her actions were now a benchmark for what true dedication looked like. Some directors openly acknowledged her contributions, offering apologies for their earlier dismissals. It was an uncomfortable but necessary moment of reckoning. Emily listened with calm dignity, knowing that their recognition, while overdue, affirmed the value of persistence and courage. The realization of her achievements began to sink in for everyone in the room. Emily's meticulous planning, unwavering focus, and quiet resilience had not only prevented disaster, but had restored stability and hope for the company's future. Despite their surprise and shame, the executives couldn't deny the transformation she had brought. They had been wrong to doubt her, and the lessons were clear. Never underestimate someone willing to act with courage and intelligence. By the end of the day, Emily's name was spoken with newfound respect. The shock of recognition was complete, and the message was clear to all. Talent and determination can come from the most unexpected places, and they can change everything. Emily was finally recognized formally for her efforts, but the moment held more meaning than any title or award could convey. The company was saved, employees were motivated, and the culture had shifted. Her true victory wasn't personal glory, it was seeing the company thrive and knowing she had made a lasting difference. Executives approached her, some with hesitant smiles, others with genuine admiration. Their previous arrogance and doubt had been replaced by respect and even apologies. Emily acknowledged them politely, but her focus remained on the employees and the company's future, rather than on their contrition. The office buzzed with energy. Teams worked with renewed dedication, inspired by Emily's courage and tenacity. Employees who once felt powerless now believed in their own potential, realizing that determination and intelligence could overcome any obstacle, no matter how insurmountable it seemed. Emily felt a wave of emotion as she walked through the office. Every desk, every corner, every satisfied client email reflected the success she and her allies had quietly achieved. The company was no longer on the brink of collapse. It was alive, growing, and full of hope. Lucas and Jake shared a quiet glance with her, silently acknowledging the battles they had fought together. The late nights, the risks, and the secret efforts had paid off. It was a collective victory, a shared triumph that reminded Emily that courage is strongest when combined with teamwork. Though the recognition was gratifying, Emily's heart swelled with something deeper, pride in what she had accomplished for the company and the people who depended on it. She had acted out of love, loyalty, and determination, and now she could see the tangible impact of those choices. The executives, employees, and clients alike began to understand the full scope of her contributions. Emily's perseverance, intelligence, and quiet courage had reshaped the company, and challenged long-held assumptions about what one determined person could achieve. As the day came to a close, Emily looked around at the thriving company and smiled quietly to herself. The emotional climax wasn't about applause or accolades. It was the satisfaction of seeing lives changed, stability restored, and the knowledge that courage, intelligence, and dedication can overcome even the harshest doubts and prejudices. The company was no longer teetering on the edge of collapse. Emily's courage, intelligence, and determination had not only saved it, but had inspired everyone around her. The story of her secret efforts spread quietly, a testament to what one humble, determined person could achieve. Employees walked through the office with renewed energy, motivated by the example Emily had set. They saw that perseverance and dedication could overcome arrogance, doubt, and systemic obstacles. Her actions became a blueprint for courage in the face of adversity. Emily herself remained grounded. She didn't seek personal glory or fame. Her reward was the knowledge that she had preserved the company her family had built and ensured the livelihood of countless employees. The satisfaction was quiet but profound. Executives who once dismissed her now approached with respect, realizing the lesson that status and wealth don't measure capability. Emily had proven that talent, determination, and courage can come from the most unexpected places, reshaping the way the company viewed its people. Her story became a source of inspiration beyond the office walls. Clients, partners, and even outsiders learned of the woman who, unnoticed and underestimated, had saved $1 million company through quiet bravery and sharp intelligence. Emily walked through the office one last time, observing the positive changes, the smiling faces, and the renewed hope. The transformation wasn't just financial, it was emotional, cultural, and deeply human. Her efforts had left an indelible mark on everyone involved. The ultimate victory wasn't recognition or applause. It was knowing that integrity, courage, and relentless dedication could truly make a difference. Emily had shown that obstacles and prejudice could be overcome, and that anyone willing to act with heart and intelligence could change the world around them. As she left the office that evening, Emily smiled, her heart full. The company was safe, the people were motivated, and the future was bright. Her journey had proven one timeless truth. When courage meets determination, even the humblest person can achieve the extraordinary.